Is it really possible to live in the now all the time? Many speak of it. Few embody it. And yet, Osho said it clearly. You cannot be anywhere else than here and now. The problem is not being. The problem is not knowing that you already are. Our mind keeps projecting the future. What if something goes wrong? What if I fail? What if it all falls apart? Thoughts like these trigger emotions. Emotions disturb your energy, and all of that happens inside the only moment that exists, this one. In this Darshan, we'll begin with Osho's words, and then explore how to disarm the future mind, not with affirmations, not with control, but through awareness, because the future doesn't need to be solved. It only needs to be seen as an illusion. Now, listen to the words of Osho.
Really possible to be in the now here all the time? Most of my time seems to go in planning for or worrying about the future.
Whether you know it or not, you cannot be anywhere else than here and now. Wherever you are, it will be here and now. You are given only one moment at a time. And you are wasting that moment for planning or worrying about the future. And the future never comes. What comes is always here now. It is a series of nows. One now, another now. But you are always living in the now. There is no future. And what can you worry about the future? It is because of this kind of worrying and planning for future that a certain proverb exists in all the languages.
He said it with absolute clarity. You cannot be anywhere else than here and now. But if it's so obvious, why do we keep getting trapped in the future? Because the mind doesn't want to accept something so simple. The mind feeds on control. And the now cannot be controlled. So it creates the future, an imagined tomorrow, filled with problems that don't exist yet, but already affect your body, your emotions, your breath. The mind throws questions like, what if they reject you? What if you lose this? What if it all goes wrong? And you respond emotionally, as if it's already happening, but it's not happening. It's only being dreamed by the mind. Osho doesn't want you to repeat, I am in the present. He wants you to see the truth of it. How many times a day are you physically here, but mentally somewhere else? The first step is to observe the mechanism, because what is observed loses power, and when the thought loses strength, silence arises by itself. Every time a what-if thought arises in your mind, an automatic mechanism begins. That thought imagines a problem that doesn't yet exist. But your body feels it as if it were real. It generates emotion, worry, fear, tension, and that emotion feeds the mind. Again, the cycle is perfect, but completely illusory. In the yogic tradition, this is called samskara, mental patterns repeating without awareness. It's not your fault. It's the design of the mind. The important thing is not to control the thought. It's to see how it arises, how it moves, how it recycles. Imagine you're waiting for an important call. The mind says, what if they don't call? What? If it goes wrong? Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, and now you're suffering from something that hasn't happened. But if you simply observe that moment, if you notice, my mind is throwing a what if, a pause is created, and in that pause, you are no longer trapped. The thought loses its power because you're no longer inside the thought, you're watching it from outside, and when that pause happens, the present opens before you. In that instant, you have blocked the ego with its own reflection. You've used the ego to catch the ego, and everything dissolves. The present moment touches you like a cool breeze. On a hot day, when you dissolve the worry thought, what appears in you is now. And if another thought comes to fill that space, you do the same until silence and presence become everything. The mind wears many masks, but if you pay attention, the pattern is always the same. Let's look at a simple example. You have a difficult conversation waiting. The mind says, what if they get angry? What if they misunderstand me? What if I ruin everything? And your body reacts, even though nothing has happened yet. Another situation, you're about to walk into a social gathering. The mind whispers, what if no one talks to me? What if I don't fit in? Thoughts like these pull you out of presence. They are not reality. But if you pause and say inwardly, that's not real, or even, I am not that thought, you've broken the pattern. You've planted awareness where only reaction lived. And the most beautiful part is this. You don't need to understand it all. You just need to remember that you can observe. Because what is seen begins to dissolve. And in that space, something new begins to arise. Not a thought, but the self. Not as a concept, as a living experience. To illustrate this, let me share 3 short stories that carry the same truth in 3 very different lives. The broken bowl of Prakash was a young disciple sent to the market to sell a simple clay bowl. His master had told him, with the money, buy rice and return before sunset. As he walked, the mind began, what if I drop it? What if someone cheats me? What if I return empty-handed? In that anxiety, he stopped watching his steps. He tripped. The bowl fell. It shattered. He returned ashamed. But the master simply said, what you broke was not the bowl. It was your faith in illusions. You walked with the future in your head and forgot the ground beneath your feet. Anaya's letter. Anaya received a letter from her son, but the envelope came from a hospital. Before opening it, her mind took over. What if he's sick? What if it's serious? What if I lose him? Her breath became short, her heart raced. But something in her paused. She sat down. She watched her fear arise. She whispered, this is not real. When she finally opened the letter, it was a thank you note from a volunteer clinic. Her son had donated blood. Nothing had happened except in her mind. The shadow of Devraj. Devraj was a silent seeker who meditated by the Ganges. Every dawn, one morning, he felt a shadow pass behind him. His mind jumped. A thief? A tiger? Is this my death? But instead of reacting, he stayed still. He inhaled. He watched. The shadow was only a leaf, caught in the wind. And in that moment, Devraj saw clearly, everything I fear is just thought until I make it real. That morning, he didn't return home with a teaching. He returned as someone who had seen the truth. These 3 lives, a young student, a worried mother, a solitary meditator, all faced the same dragon, the mind reaching into the future. But each, in their own way, chose to pause, to witness. And in that simple act, the future dissolved. And the present began to breathe again. Now, one question for you and community. Invitation. Perhaps you've never dropped a bowl like Prakash, or received a letter like Anaya, or sat in stillness like Devraj. But in some way, you've walked the same path, because the future mind doesn't care where you are. It only wants to pull you away from the now. What if they reject me? What if I lose control? What if I fail? And we follow those thoughts again and again, not because they are real, but because we never stop to ask if they're even true. So here is the invitation. The next time your mind says, "What if it all goes wrong?" Pause and whisper to yourself, "That is not real. That is not who I am." Watch the thought like a cloud. Let it pass. And in what remains, you may find something deeper than understanding. You may find presence. And if you feel called, ask yourself, what kind of fear or worry is your mind using to entertain you while pretending it's being realistic? What story about the future has kept you anxious, even though it never came true? Have you tried watching instead of believing? If any of this resonated with you, you're welcome to share in the comments, not to teach, but to remember that we are not alone in this path toward awareness. The present moment is not something you achieve. It's not a goal. It is the only thing that was ever truly here. The future is a mirage, a movie playing in the mind. But your breath, your awareness, that is real. So if the mind pulls you forward, let that be your cue to return, not by force, but by remembrance. You don't need to become present. You only need to stop leaving. Meditation is not the end of thought. It's the beginning of a new relationship with it. You will still hear the mind, but now you don't have to follow. Instead, you can smile and stay where the air is real, where the silence breathes with you, where nothing is missing because you are here. Until we meet again. Om Shanti.